Oh, hi. Yeah, you know, it's not David Beckham, by the way. It's me. My hair's just a little bit like David Beckham today, but just going to be discussing the big event which happened almost 20 years ago, which there's no doubt that the events this year has overshadowed that particular event. When I was told by the Lord that it would happen and that it would lead to Armageddon, there's obviously many questions about that. People didn't listen to that. The pastors wanted to talk about the rapture. Jesus can come at any time, and yet the Lord told me 2001 this would happen. I shared it with some other Christians, that including the pastor, including some of the elders of this Baptist church that I got baptized in. And I don't know exactly what they think I landed from Mars or something like that, but that's what the Lord showed me. I was only faithfully passing on what the Lord showed me, and they didn't like that. But then when it happened, did they come back and apologise? Did they seek me out? No. So we've discussed that. So Christians today have no belief system in the spiritual gifts. Second of all, they have no integrity. That when you are right, when you do speak something that comes to pass, they don't come back and they don't tell their friends that, well, John actually, Dave or Steve or whatever, they actually spoke this, maybe it's from the Lord. Maybe we should give this guy a little bit of respect. Obviously, it's not what happens, is it, to real prophets of the Lord? While the fake prophets stand up in stages and go around doing fake healings, false signs and wonders, and get rich. Just thought I'd bring that to your attention, for those of you that don't know. The handful that still watch my videos, the Lord bless you. Hope all this crazy stuff isn't getting to you too much. As the Lord said, that we should rejoice in tribulation. And obviously, for those of you that don't know, we're in these days right now. Just finished the Hebrew calendar. It's just there. Just put it up on the wall. May make another video about it, depending on the interest. We'll just see how that goes. But obviously the narrative of the official narrative of what we were told that happened almost 20 years ago, that it was some desert dwellers, it was some cave dwellers, people that, that somehow the most powerful militaries in the world just couldn't find them, with all the technology that they have in space. And I suppose they've managed to brainwash a lot of people that that technology isn't real, through the flat earth theory. I can assure you, when beams are coming out the sky and hitting the earth and causing earthquakes and causing fires in California and all over the world, which the Russians have been doing for decades, since about the 80s, they've been using this technology, which we made videos about. What to really tell you, it's a mess. The official narrative that, we're used to hearing, it's a load of rubbish, and then further investigation, we're told that a lot of the Jews who stayed in the Twin Towers that day were texted that there'd be an event and don't go into work. And so it sort of slid from the official narrative that it was cave-dwelling Muslims to that it was Zionists and, Silverstein and all them profiting from the actual event itself. Now, sometimes I make videos. Sometimes I made a video a couple of years ago when I was in, I think it was in Bucharest or somewhere. I was in Bucharest, I think it was Hungary. I think it was Hungary somewhere, and I made a video about what was it about, the not like the Zionists, I forget what I called it exactly. Sometimes I've made videos about the elite Jews, okay, that people talk about, but you see that the rest of Jewry get a little bit uptight about it. Some of them know what's going on. Some of them are quite aware of what's going on. Some of them are just, part of the family, and they can't really get out of it. type of thing, even though they know that there's wicked things going on. Just like if you're a Catholic, you know what's going on in the Vatican too. Just like if you're, I don't know, Islamic, and there's certain branches of Islam that you don't agree with, you think they're satanic. And so the book of Jeremiah talks about good figs and bad figs. The fig tree speaks about specifically the Jews. And we're to bless the Jews, we're to pray for the peace of Israel. But when we see a Jewish person do something false, and by the way, Benny Hinn was born in Israel, okay? I don't know anyone who hasn't watched the video that the Street Fighter, where when Benny Hinn's taking his jacket and just not hitting people, just sort of waving his jacket around and people are falling back. I mean, he might have. If laughter is a form of healing, then I think Benny Hinn's brought a lot of laughter, but I don't know if he's actually brought any genuine healing, like through the actual Jesus Christ himself. You know, a lot of people remain very deceived that, you know, certain God TV people. I think we spoke about Kenneth Copeland as well. You know, what cracked me up is that he was genuinely saying that if you send him money, that he'll pray that you get healed of the so-called pandemic, the so-called fake virus. And I just find that hilarious. I mean, if any of us tried to do that, I don't know what would happen, but, you know, things would come out of space or something, you know, with space monkeys would come down and arrest us or something like that. But he gets away with it, you know, because he's got like 5 personal jets or something. Or is it 4? I think you only need 1, don't you, to get around at a time? I don't think. But anyhow, beside the point. The point I'm speaking of today is obviously the fact that the narrative of the official story, what happened 20 years ago, slipped into a sort of what the Jews might call anti-Semitism. And by the way, yeah. Behold the hand, behold the nail. Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. You know, is it anti-Semitic? Is it Semitic? I don't understand. It's just nonsense, just political rigmarole. I'm not here to blow smoke up anybody's exhaust pipe, you know. I'm just here basically to discuss the things that, you know, we're being told. And then usually there's another narrative that forms. And then there's a sort of underground movement around that narrative. It's just very weird how it all goes. I think probably I think it's been proven, at least a few independent YouTubers did some research, and at least 50% of news channels are government agencies. They're actually paid by some form of government to actually put out a lot of propaganda that they do. Just as the Nazis did, they put out a lot of propaganda specifically about the Jewish people, and yes, they used, the thing I made a video about a couple of years ago, which was called, try to remember what it was called. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm talking about? That document. That document that was released, and everything that came to pass in it, everything that was spoken in this document has come to pass. Oh yeah, it was Jesus, what was it called again? What was it called? Let me just pause this video and think of what it was called. Oh yeah, it was called The Learned Elders of Zion. The Learned Elders of Zion, which I think most of us can guess who they could possibly be. But they go by a narrative that's very much similar to communists, is very much similar to people that want to create a one world government. And not all Jewish people are for these areas, even though, of course, if the Catholic Church is for it or Islam is for it, which they're not, in most cases, or at least they say they're not, but there is a elite few at the top that are trying to create this one world narrative, one world bank, which was produced over 10 years ago. In the last video, which I put on my channel, they've all been taken off at some point, but I just put that last one up because it was a study on certain holy books speaking about the dangers of loving money and the fact that Jesus Christ spoke against that. And the testimony of Judah really speaks about the love of money and the fact that if you get too much into making money, there's nothing wrong with using your talents to make wealth. But when you get to a level that's so, you're making so much money that you're making more money than nations, that's when it's very, very dangerous. And that's what's been happening the past few hundred years. And I am well aware that the Illuminati is a very, very old, ancient, it goes back probably thousands of years. The illuminated ones. So they read all these unholy books, like the Book of the Dead from Egypt, or different texts from Mesopotamia, different nations, different countries. The Greeks had their own writings and so on. And it's called the Enlightenment. And, they did the so-called mixed marriages, which we can't mention exactly what that is, which is very sad, that we have to not say certain words, at certain times. But that's just the world we live in. So these narratives obviously can spread to different sources of people if they target males, if they target females, if they target Jews, if they target non-Jews, black, white, whatever, races. Okay. Now, back in the Second World War, obviously, Hitler used these writings to target the Jews. He didn't target certain Jews who maybe were responsible for writing them. Like the intelligent analysis would be to track down, obviously, the people that did write them. Some people think that it was Jesuits. Some people think that it was certain elitist Illuminati sort of banker people type of thing. So instead of doing that type of research, he just called it the Jews. All the Jews are responsible, and this is of course wrong. Okay, this causes obviously a form of anti-Semitism, and we obviously as intelligent people don't want to take a group of people in the world, whether they're gypsies or Jews, Caucasians, Asians, Africans, or whoever. We don't want to target a group of people and say, those people are responsible for taking down our nation. Those people are responsible for, crashing down the Twin Towers. These people are responsible for crashing the economy. When obviously the people responsible are usually, the big cats, the fat cats, those who are in control, not even governments at certain times, even though we've spoken about Donald Trump and the fact that he's promised to do certain things. So obviously a lot of criminal activity has been going on, and he must have a very, very hard job. Obviously, I wouldn't like to be doing the job that he's doing, and I think he's doing a pretty good job overall. But except that he seems to be backing this whole pandemic thing, and that's the sad thing. Because I think most people now realise that this thing has been planned. This thing has been blown way, 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 way out of proportion, and it's been used to socially engineer society. In other words, to reprogram society. So the programmers of our society, which the learned elders of Zion actually are, they're programmers of society, predicted and prophesied. Watch the last video about the Third World War, and that's what we're actually living out just now, which started really September the 11th, 2001. So I hope this video makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot of really good people still on YouTube. I think there's a few places you can go online and put videos on, but again, they don't get very many views. So that's the only thing. Personally, I know everybody knows that Facebook is obviously not the best place. You can get banned pretty quickly as soon as you mention certain things on that. But anyway, I'll upload this video. I believe the Lord wanted me to speak on that just now, and to basically encourage people to pray for the Jewish people, to love the Jewish people, to embrace at least the good parts of the Jewish culture, because this is an ancient Hebrew language right here that goes way back to like before Sinai. And languages were created really through signs and symbols, like the Chinese language is created that way, Japanese. Like the early languages of men are actually created just with numbers and symbols. And that's where we get our sort of languages from. After Babel, and they were all broken up into different forms of writings and sounds and so on. By the way, when the Lord comes back, I believe we'll all speak a form of this sort of a Paleo-Hebrew that was spoken before the flood. I believe it was a sort of a form of Paleo-Hebrew. It was the original form, because if you study the Hebrew lettering, they actually even have a link with the human DNA as well, which is very interesting. There's a lot of studies about that. So the Jewish people, obviously, like the church, like the true Christians, are a target for Satan. And those that are propagating and programming society, they want you to think that a certain group of people are responsible. It could be the Jews, or this or that, could be anyone. So they want to make them the scapegoats, and that is wrong. And I think just to stand up and acknowledge that is a good thing. Because the majority of us are not part of that group. And even if some of these facilities are the foot soldiers of these groups and they're on their payroll, they got to know by now that they're very quickly replaced and easily replaced if they don't do their jobs. And the fact is that a lot of people are waking up today, and the fact that the police officers are trying to defund the police, it's basically just going exactly the nihilistic way that the programmers told us that it would go. The most bloody turmoil, and the fact that all authorities, all governments would just be shut down, we'd be bankrupt, and it's basically we're just left basically trusting in the Lord to defend us in these last days. And I think that's the message I can bring out from this. Whether you're Jewish in Israel, give the Lord glory for how the fact that He's brought you into the promised land, and the fact that maybe you yourself may be promised to see the return of the Messiah, or for the first time you'll see Him coming, as is predicted in the book of Zechariah. There was also a Jew that was promised by the Lord to meet the young Messiah, the young child, as we read in the Gospels. Some of us have been even promised that we will be the last generation that will be still here when the Lord comes back. I've heard a few testimonies about that. I've heard a few people say that death won't hold you. You'll be in the guillotines. A lot of people have had dreams and visions about that. And the fact that when they go through that process, that they'll be with the Lord, as the Bible says. And immediately, like when you're out the body, you're in the spirit, and you're basically there in the heavenlies, just coming back to the earth to reign and rule forever. You don't have to wait too long. And when you go into that spiritual world, here in the fleshly world is a lot slower. Things move a lot slower, but everything has been written in the Bible. Everything that is written in that Bible will come to pass. And it's just that, yes, Satan has a part to play in the last days, and the learned elders of Zion are obviously part of what Satan is doing in the last days. But that doesn't mean to say that you as a group of people, whatever race, culture or creed you are, need to be part of that so-called group, or you need to be working for that so-called narrative. That you can just come to the Lord as you are, repent, and embrace the living God right now, and just ask the Lord who the Messiah is, and He will lead you to the Messiah. You don't believe it's Yeshua? Fine. Pray and fast. Ask God to lead you to the truth, lead you to who the Messiah is. And it's very important for us to have a personal relationship with the living God, because no man can be an advocate for your soul. No man can speak for you on the day of judgment. No. And just like No man can speak to you for you in a court of law. It's got to be a specific appointed person, unless you yourself know the language. And yes, the gift of tongues is a real language. That's why, if you're a Christian that doesn't believe in the gift of tongues or the gifts of the Spirit, you're missing out on having fellowship with the living God yourself. So I hope anything I've said has been an encouragement to you, may have been a challenge to you. But it's a wholesome message, and it's one that I believe exposes the wickedness and evil that's going on in the world. And I should be aware of that. We shouldn't be naive about it. So, friends, brethren, shalom to you. Whether you're Jewish or a Gentile, we're one new man in Christ Jesus, in Yeshua HaMashiach. So may the Lord bless you.